Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast. My name is Caitlin, and with me today are...
Jake.
Chris.
And Ames.
And we're here on episode 195 to talk about, surprise, surprise, 2 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Those episodes are Looking for Parmach in All the Wrong Places and Nor the Battle to the Strong. In Looking for Parmach in All the Wrong Places, Quark's ex-wife, Grilka, is visiting Deep Space Nine. And really strangely, she's asking Quark for help, but also seems kind of DTF.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of DTF, Worf sees her arrive, declares her to be glorious, and immediately decides he's going to pursue the shit out of her. Dax is like, what the fuck?
Boys!
You idiot. The thing is, she wasn't very boys this episode.
No,
she was actually
super
very,
good now.
Pretty subtle and awesome. I fall in love more with Dax every episode these days.
Both the episodes this week, I think, we are at the level of Dax that I'm glad we've hit. Cause
We have achieved peak Dax.
Yeah, basically.
she's doing a great job.
Yeah, I'm very happy with her.
Very quickly, just to get it out of the way, the B plot in this episode is that Miles O'Brien and Kira Nerys seem to be getting some fee-fees for each other, mostly because O'Brien is always giving her, ankle and neck massages and helping her out of tubs and shit.
Gross.
Plus, she's pregnant. I mean, and I'm not just being, misogynistic, chauvinistic, but, pregnancy fucks with your hormones big time, and I kind of feel like the only way Kira Nerys would ever start developing these kinds of feelings for O'Brien would be if she was, super drunk or super pregnant. And we know she's super pregnant.
She might also be super drunk.
I mean,
who knows? She did want to play racquetball and, rappel down... No, Keiko was the one who wanted to do some rappelling. Well, anyway, O'Brien is rappelling enough for everybody.
Aww.
Yeah, that's right.
They really missed an amazing joke opportunity in this episode where Curly could have walked up to her and be like, "So, you want a little O'Brien inside you, eh?" And then she could be like, "I already do!"
Quick, someone write into Lower Decks.
Oh,
Yikes.
God.
So, anyway, they kind of realize at the exact same moment that fee-fees are happening, so they start trying to, avoid each other a little bit, but Keiko, that naive, sweet creature,
Seriously.
keeps being like, "Don't worry about it. Why don't you guys go have sex? It'll help, take away some of her labor pains or something. Maybe it'll make the baby come faster."
Yikes.
So, anyway, not exactly, but she's like, "Go give her a neck massage, your famous O'Brien neck massage." And I was like, I don't believe that. But then I think they're really good at mashing potatoes, probably, and that's kind of the same thing.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Anyway, Irish jokes aside, they wind up, Keiko almost basically forces O'Brien to accompany Kira on a trip she's trying to take to Bajor to basically get away from her feelings, and it sort of seems like they both kind of have this wistful, maybe in another lifetime kind of moment.
Gross.
And,
Never.
it was kind of sweet.
Lifetimes.
It was kind of sweet, but I think the best thing to come out of that whole thing is the scene where Odo is like, "Oh, he's Miles now," and fucking Odo serves up some A+ quality snark. We can get more into that a little later. Anyway, back to Klingons.
Yeah.
So Worf is like, "I'm gonna try to get in with Grilka," and her butler is like, "You're fucking a houseless, honorless bitch. Thanks, but no thanks." And we get into a sort of almost like Cyrano de Bergerac situation where, and actually, we'll get more into this too. It didn't quite go how I expected, but remind me to go back to that later.
Ooh, okay.
And so instead of listening behind a door and whispering shit to Quark is doing all the right stuff and Grilka's into it, but her bodyguard, Thopak, is super not into it because, Ferengi are parasites. And so, according to Klingons. So he's like, "Quark, we're gonna fight because I'm gonna kill you because this is a perfect woman and you can't have her." And Quark and Worf, after a beautiful, brilliant idea from Dax, don some brainwave transceiver mabobs.
VR machine.
Yeah. And so Klingon, the Worf. Worf does the Batleth fighting against Thopak for Quark, and then Quark's body does the things. I'm gesturing wildly for everybody who's not listening to this podcast right now, I guess. Quark wins, and he and Grilka get down to clown.
Ow, ow.
And at the
Very
same...
violent fucking.
And Worf is like, wah, wah, Grilka. And Dax is like, fine, I'll take this into my own fucking hands. And we see a mirror of the weird arm wrestling, neck choking situation, and Worf and Dax finally do the bone. And Julian has the distinct pleasure of seeing them, post-pleasure, all ripped up and needing medical care. I think that's the end. Yeah, that's the end.
Yeah. They should have just all gone to the med bay apart instead of together, so that Julian wouldn't pick up on it right away.
I mean, he's bound by HIPAA. You know, he can't say shit.
Is there still HIPAA?
I feel like we've seen doctors in Starfleet just spill the beans on all their fucking patients already, so...
That was probably mostly Bones, and he was a drunk.
Well, no, Crusher did it a lot, too.
Oh, did she?
But I don't remember if we did it on air, but because we were complaining about it so much, I looked it up once, and HIPAA didn't actually exist in its current form before 1995.
Oh.
So I don't know what, if any, privacy rules existed before then.
I think there probably had to have been
something.
A HIPAA equivalent.
Yeah, but they probably rewrote it or changed it, or maybe they codified something that had only been on the state level before, I don't know.
But does Crusher kind of mostly just blab to Picard, though? Because there might be some kind of rules about the captain needing to know...
Maybe.
Certain... I mean...
Yeah, the captain needs to know who's fucking who.
Well,
here's the thing. I don't care if Julian's bound by HIPAA. You know he's telling Garrick, and then the whole station's gonna find out.
As if Garrick doesn't already know.
Yeah, Garrick knows. Garrick was taking pictures. He was like, just in case I need some blackmail someday.
But yeah.
Speaking of Garrick...
Everyone goes to Bone Town.
This episode was directed by Andrew Robinson, which is pretty lovely.
Right.
I think he did a swell job.
I forgot that when I said that.
And you told us it at the...
I did.
Yes, you told me that at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, this is our
tops.
Yeah, our first director from a recurring character of the show. And I guess Robinson came to Berman.
Didn't Odo? Oh, recurring. Sorry.
Yeah, not a main character. Yeah, and I guess Robinson came to Berman after he had just won a couple LA Drama Critics Circle Awards to say, like, hey, since I just won these awards, I'm a good director, right?
Love it. Good. Yeah, I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, I thought so too. And this episode is, for one of the more lighthearted comedy kind of episodes. It has big implications for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
And it's also pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
pretty
good.
Solid show.
Especially because it involves Quark and like a romantic chase. It had the chance of being really shitty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they dodged, I think, a lot of potential bullets in terms of like making this really gross.
Yeah, I mean, they could have made it like very more akin to a Cyrano de Bergerac, which is something I guess Michael Dorn had brought up to the writers, saying like, I want to do a Cyrano de Bergerac show at some point, in which he would have been the Cyrano character, but they kind of flip-flopped it when it made more sense for that to be Quark, or I don't know which one is which. Whichever one.
I thought Cyrano was the ugly one giving the advice, right? Or whatever.
Well, whichever way. Like, this was Dorn's idea, and it could have been really stupid. But they actually made it in a way that, it's never distractingly silly.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny. Like, there are elements that are very funny. Like, Quark learning the reenactment of whatever the battle was where Kahless and Lucara hook up.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's also very cute.
Yeah. I think what helps is that they treated his interest in her seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And so that helped sort of ground it a little. Like, this wasn't just he seems to be really quite into her.
In the beginning, though, I feel like he was just trying to get her into bed.
Yeah, but as time went on, I don't know what it was, but he, and what was really interesting, what I liked was especially where he goes, he says to me, when I see things I want to acquire, you sound like a Ferengi again. He's like, well, I am a Ferengi. And then follows that up with, you're worth more than all the Latinum in the quadrant. And, she understands, you see in her face, she gets that from a Ferengi. That's a very serious compliment.
Yeah, this is his way of being romantic. That's actually very sweet.
Yeah, it's like, I've been doing all this stuff that you understand. Now let me put it in my terms, for God's sake, because...
Yeah, I felt like it was a little 50-50 at times, because I felt like Quark kind of was like making fun of the customs when he wasn't with her type of stuff.
Yeah.
And at some point I was like, this is a lot of work to go through just to get laid. Quark's quite a ladies' man, I'm just saying. I'm sure Grilka's not his only offer. But yeah, I definitely agree that they did seem to sort of form a legit bond.
Yeah, because even by the time in her last appearance, you feel like there's a part of them that was kind of like...
So she
could be worse.
She came to him for what? Because her house's finances were funny? Is that what the
Pretty
deal was?
much, yeah.
Yeah, she was like losing money because of the
war.
Yeah, the war.
You need a Ferengi's eye on this.
Yep.
She says, I know one of those.
Yeah. She couldn't ask directly. It's like, I get what you're at. Give me the fucking books.
Just give me that.
Yeah, and that's very cute.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, and like, he was also the one, in the last episode, he's the one that figured out that there was financial improprieties that led to her problems in that episode.
Yeah.
Or really, no, what was it? It was the rival had done a bunch of shady shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
he
it had been
math.
again.
How could you?
Yeah. Yeah, he used, like you said, Jake, it was definitely financial skullduggery.
Yeah.
Skullduggery.
But so yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like Quark has certain talents which are useful to Grilka, but Worf has other talents that are useful to Quark.
Yeah.
In this instance.
Yeah, like I give Shiverman a lot of credit because he learned the batleth for this episode, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah, which I'm assuming is an art form that Michael Dorn probably mostly invented.
Yeah, I was thinking that actually.
And I'm sure the fight choreographer.
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah. I'm sure he and the fight choreographer kind of worked out like, okay, this is what it looks like. This is the, these are the moves that you do. And,
yeah, but it was definitely designed around Dorn.
Yeah.
Since he would have been... It's kind of like how they let Doohan make up some random Klingon one day, and they had to build around what he'd done.
It makes me wonder, so when they're using their, what do they call it, the virtual control device, Worf is several feet taller than Quark.
I mentioned that. It must have been so surreal to suddenly lose a couple of feet.
Yeah,
I'm wondering,
how did it work?
if what is he seeing in the virtual reality?
He never feels
I wondered that too.
He never feels the impact. How is he?
I'm wondering if maybe he does.
Maybe.
I'm guessing that there's feedback that he's getting fed something from Quark's unit. So
well, he
I can
must
only
be
imagine
seeing through Quark's eyes, right?
Yeah, he's seeing what Quark is seeing, and he's probably also feeling the muscle contractions. I don't know.
But he must also know, like, my arm span is different from Quark's arm span. I think Quark makes a joke saying, my arms are too short for this, or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, how does that even work? If Worf thinks I'm hitting you, but he's like a couple inches shy.
Well, what if the whole virtual environment is scaled to be, Quark size? So like instead of seeing, the Klingon being relatively the same height as Worf,
maybe
Worf sees the Klingon being the relative size of the Klingon from Quark's perspective.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. But he must have lost a few feet and been like, ugh.
He's like, this must be what it feels like to be a little bitch like Alexander.
Yes. Yeah, I just know that Ronald D. Moore purposely didn't bother explaining how the thing worked because, A, it's not entirely necessary because, no one's ever distracted enough to be like, this has taken me out of the episode.
Yeah,
I'm upset.
This is not the weirdest thing we've seen in Trek.
No, we've seen Pup.
Oh, God.
Oh.
And yeah, we saw, I think the first time we've seen Quark in a traditional Ferengi head thing.
Yeah.
Whatever those are called.
Just to hide the device.
I thought the costume that Dax was wearing as in the Lady Lucara what word am I looking for?
Cosplay?
Cosplay. I almost said crossplay. That was wrong. I thought it looked stupid.
I thought she carried it off well.
I think it was supposed to be authentic, right? It's like
Yeah.
She was dressed as Lakura.
because Grilka was wearing the same outfit.
Yeah. I just
in the
think
following
it's.
scene.
I just think it's not a very intuitive attire to be wearing as someone who's about to go into battle at any moment.
True. Maybe, who knows, maybe it's less what she actually wore and more what's traditionally used in, like, recreations. You know, it's like, this is the Shakespeare version.
Yeah, and we're also talking about an event that was centuries ago.
Yeah, and I'm
So,
sure it's come down
dramatized.
the pipeline for many years, and people have put it
They
up
also,
on a pedestal.
They did heavier, sort of, not smoky, but they did heavier eye makeup on her in that scene. I thought that looked really good.
On
Yeah,
Dax?
Chris actually commented. He was like, I really like Dax's makeup. And I was like, oh,
Yeah, they gave her, like, really much heavier eyeliner than usual on both ends, and it just, I don't know. It was a good look.
That's cool.
So yeah, this was this is the moment when Dax and Worf hook up.
Yep.
Finally.
Finally.
Worf was blind to it this entire time.
Yeah,
She'd be
which
like,
is
hey,
interesting,
I'm right
You know?
here, naked in front of you. He's like, oh,
Yeah, he would have to be
woman.
blind not to notice. And Dax is like, yeah, fucking tell me about it, bud.
Dense bastard.
I like that we jumped right into marriage talk right after.
Well, he did the same.
that's-
He did the same thing with
Yeah.
Kaylar.
I know.
right? Oh, we have to say the words. Shut the fuck up.
I like that Dax was like, let's see how it goes, and Worf was like, no.
I also like that Dax just keeps schooling Worf on what it is to be a Klingon because he doesn't fucking know. He was raised by Russians.
Well, this is the episode where, you know, someone, aside from us, calls him on it.
Yeah,
you know, where it's
it was
like,
great.
you're basically a Catholic Klingon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're a Klingon raised by humans who works in Starfleet. You're a bundle of contradictions.
That's all right. I like a man who's full of contradictions, says Dax.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very
Which
in
is
her
like
character.
the weirdest fucking thing I've ever heard.
I think more than anything, though, what this episode has proven is that Worf shouldn't be a warrior.
What should he do?
He should be some sort of artist. He was singing on the Defiant Bridge. He was like directing Quark, like, no. You say the words, but there's no passion. It's like, Worf, you're supposed to be playing a little squeeze box like that chef we had for a couple episodes and singing and like that's
He's a historian. He's studied the history very obviously.
That's what makes more sense for him. He should be like,
he might be a good poet.
Yeah,
Cat, get out of here.
like he should be an artist. Not it makes sense.
A lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, you know, he understands the culture on paper. You know, all the traditional. He could, you know, he'd be great at that stuff. I think he's proven it time and again. Also, I do love the idea that he lives in the car and when no one's around, he just blasts his music on the bridge.
He just hangs out in the front seat. And he's like, what are you doing here? Not in your quarters.
I bet the sound system is fucking amazing.
Oh, probably.
Too.
Yeah, so question about Worf, because, you know, he is still in a house with no honor, but just the other week, he fucking saved Gowron from changeling Martok. Did that mean nothing to them?
Yes.
Well, yeah, it did, because
yeah,
Gowron was like, you're still a bitch, Worf.
Oh,
should have killed me when you had the chance, Charles.
Yeah.
That's kind of the MO, right? And the fact that they're even still at war with the Klingons, technically.
Yeah.
Well, Gowron said, we can't pull out, we'd look like, you know, pussies.
Exactly. So, like, there's definitely a whole thing, especially with Gowron, I think, that is, okay, we can never admit that we were wrong, and, you know, we'll just have to see things through.
Gowron and all Klingons are like Fonzie.
Gowron really is the Klingon Trump.
Mm.
Like, I think the character of Trump has to be based on Gowron.
Nice.
Gowron has better hair.
Gowron has better everything.
More believable eyes.
His makeup is way more subtle, Gowron's.
I was gonna say.
More natural.
Trump is kind of like a TOS Klingon in that regard, isn't he?
Kinda.
Yeah, he's got way too much bronzer on.
They haven't quite figured out the characters yet, so, you know, they're all a little different, each one you see.
Yeah,
is he a white supremacist or not? We haven't really decided. Maybe season 3 will tell.
Jesus.
Asshole.
No, speaking of TOS and Klingons, so we see our good friend our good friend Tumek again, Grilka's advisor. And we saw him before. We said, oh yeah, that's Joe Ruskin. He was Galt in Gamesters of Triskelion.
Yep.
And we said, oh yeah, he's been in a whole bunch of Trek. And I looked him up, actually. And I know I gave credit a couple weeks ago saying, oh yeah, Clint Howard's been in like every fucking Trek. This guy's been in more.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Because he was in TOS as Galt. He was in Insurrection as one of the Sona guys.
Oh.
He's in DS9 here and as the informant that talked to Garrick once. No, Odo. He talked to Odo once.
He was the faceless.
Yeah, he was the
Deep
eyes.
Throat.
He was
Okay.
that guy. And then
Nice.
we're also going to see him in both Voyager and Enterprise. So he's in everything.
Wow.
Is he
Well
dead
done,
now?
him.
He sadly is dead now, so he can't be in more
He
things.
can't be in Discovery or Picard.
So Clint Howard still
Clint
has a
Howard
chance.
still has a chance.
But yeah, I thought that was really awesome. And then also, our new friend, Thopak, Grilka's bodyguard, was also in a previous Trek. I don't know if any of you recognized him, because no one fucking would.
No.
He was one of the Miri kids.
No shit.
Oh, wow.
I know,
Haven't
isn't that
we
cool?
had one of the Miri
Wait a
kids
minute,
show
what's
up
his
before?
name?
His name is Phil Morris.
Oh, okay, yes. I knew that. Yes, because I looked him up separately because he's in Doom Patrol. And I was like, this guy's familiar.
That's what you were telling me.
Yeah.
I knew what we had just talked about the Miri kids recently.
Yeah, he was one of the Miri kids.
And why
He's
else
in
would we
this.
talk about the Miri kids? Ugh.
And the reason he was familiar to me, though, because, obviously as a kid and as a Klingon, I'm not going to know him, but he's also the guy in Star Trek 3.
Yeah, we
Who's
see him
like-
briefly in 3.
Yeah, where he's like, they're going to have like a hero's welcome for us, sir, or whatever. He's in that, and we're going to also see him a couple more times.
Yep.
And also, what a lot of people probably know him as is Jackie Childs from Seinfeld.
Yeah, I just don't know Seinfeld.
Oh,
So.
that's who that. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, right.
I-
Right. Cosmo's lawyer, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cosmo. Who calls him Cosmo? I meant
But yeah, he was one of the Miri kids.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah, he's in a lot of Trek, too. Just usually under makeup or a kid.
Yeah, he's going to be one of the Jem'Hadar named characters pretty soon too. And
Oh, cool.
fun stuff.
That's awesome.
And I think he's in Voyager at some point.
Wow. Well, he's pretty
Who
prolific
isn't?
too in Trek.
Yeah, he is.
And like Jackie Childs is an iconic
Yeah.
character as well.
And who could forget those Miri kids?
I wish I could.
True.
Actually, if I had to... so if you could erase one episode from history, is it Miri or And the Children Shall Lead?
Miri.
Okay.
The season 2 finale that was them trying to pilot a new show.
Yeah.
Would be the one I would erase.
Assignment
Oh, yeah.
Earth.
Yes,
that
that's
one.
it. I knew it was something Earth. I just couldn't think of the... I was like, Expedition Earth? No, that ain't it.
Like all the
Uh,
other ones are at least Star Trek.
Yep.
Fair
But
enough.
yes, if I could erase 2,
Hmm.
it would be that and Miri.
Oh, so okay. So we talked a little bit about the B plot in the intro,
Oh,
but
no.
Yeah.
Not more B plot.
yeah. So one thing is I feel like the implication at least is that Keiko is naive, but we're just completely discounting the possibility that she knows exactly what she's doing.
Nice. She just wants a divorce.
Or
I
a
mean,
three-way.
Yeah, or maybe I don't
Why
know,
not
maybe just
both?
the attitudes towards sex are different in the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like, Miles seems stressed, Kira seems stressed.
Yeah.
I
did
don't really
enjoy
want to
the
have sex with either of them.
No, I did enjoy the beginning.
Dr. Bashir beamed my vagina into Kira, so
Oh dear
I don't
God.
think her
That's
vagina went
certainly not how that
anywhere.
works.
the whole thing. He
Jake,
just
do you need me
beamed
to tell you about
just
how
moved the
babies
whole-
happen?
that whole system.
So Keiko lays an egg. No. So the very, very beginning, we have Bashir trying to listen in to hear
Yeah.
Miles and what he assumes is Keiko having one of their typical spats,
Yeah.
as they are wont to do, and especially known for.
I
And then
do like
learns
how
that,
Quark
no,
fucked with him.
Miles just fights with any woman who's in his quarters, evidently.
No, the other O'Briens.
Yeah. What other open?
So here's the thing. This is where my Cyrano de Bergerac idea
Yeah.
kind of came from, which is I felt like they're showing us Quark's hearing is really good to remind us that he can fucking hear everything.
Yeah.
I would have I was like, oh, I remember turning to Chris at one point, and I was like, this is how they're going to make it even more Cyrano de Bergerac. Worf's going to be like whispering shit in the next room, and Quark's going to be like, brr, 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 like doing whatever, because he can hear really fucking well. That's what I thought was going to happen. But I'm glad I was wrong, and I'm glad that we got what actually happened, because it was much more interesting.
That's true.
But I felt very clever for about 8 seconds.
Yeah. Also, I mean, the B plot here was
stupid.
I mean, it appeared to me to be completely bolted on. Like, there was no overlap at all between those plots.
Love. Everyone's in love.
Well, no, but I mean, just like in terms of like you could just have put this in a different episode and it wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah, I agree.
We should have seen Keiko go to medbay at the end, also all injured as fuck, saying, I got in a fight with Kira over my man.
And then we ended up having sex. It was really weird.
No, I wasn't a fan of the B plot. I thought it was kind of dumb.
I mean, the thing is, like, I feel like it's something that, in this absolutely bizarre science fiction situation they've been thrown into, it's something that theoretically could happen, and I guess, you know, they've now addressed it, and it can go away. Certainly, I think, to Jake's point, if there's anything that would have been Jean's vision, it would have been Keiko just being like, whatever, just fuck each other, that's fine.
Good God. There was a moment when Miles is giving her the massage that he vanishes behind her and is doing
he's like
a move.
working his arm in. It totally looked like
and it would make a way better GIF than the pulling the spike out of Ducat's ass that I've seen as a GIF. Because this one was just profoundly explicit.
Yeah.
It was very fisting-y.
The whole, I mean, oh god, it was such an awkward plot, because it's like, oh, this is awkward. And like, yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know how much sense it makes. Like, I think it's more the situation than anything else, because, like, I mean, you know, we know Miles is into women, and he's not dead, and Kira is dead hot, so, like, that makes sense. I guess Kira, like, for her, no offense to Colmini, you know, he's, you know, not traditionally handsome, I'd say.
Poor Colmini.
But at the same time, I feel like personality-wise, they have enough in common that it kind of makes sense.
I mean, they both hate Cardis.
They're both bullheaded as fuck.
Well, that's I mean, like, she was a freedom fighter. He came up through Starfleet during a war. So, like, he's got more in common with her than she does with other Starfleet officers who came up through, like, the academy and maybe have never really seen battle or anything like that.
Yeah, but
like,
none of these things come up in the episode. Like,
no, that's true.
There's
So it doesn't.
absolutely nothing that serves as the impetus except that they've been hanging out together a lot. And women and men who hang out together a lot don't just automatically become a romantical
No,
thing.
that is true. Like, they didn't build up to it well enough in that regard. You know, like, it's like, they're just mostly expecting, like, well, of course they're going to. They've been touching each other a lot. And it's like, I mean...
Well, it's not even necessarily that they're in love. Maybe they are just horny.
Yeah.
You know? Because, again, hormones.
Yeah,
I mean, and plus,
Keiko's
you know,
holding
like,
out.
Yeah.
Keiko is probably, you know, I can't imagine just knowing what we know of her personality. I don't think that she's probably...
She might still be healing from having the baby torn out of her.
There's also that. But at the same time, I mean...
Actually, I was about to say, like, it's like, she's sitting there with, like, well, Miles, one plus side of all this is done early. But no, you're right. I mean, the superficial healing has happened, but God knows what else might be going on in there.
And like I said, her vagina is inside Kira. We know that.
Jesus. Wow.
That's how babies are.
Miles, get out. He hears that all the time, though.
And, you know, Kira's boyfriend is elsewhere. So, I don't know. Maybe they're just both a little thirsty. I don't know.
It was funny how sort of over-the-top romantic the place they were going to go was. It gets worse. There's a view.
There's a hummingbird that when you think about it, like stops flapping in midair because time freezes. Oh, no.
Oh, God. All right, I'll give it that. Better love story than Insurrection.
Yeah, fair.
There's a view, and it's 100 miles from anybody. Oh, fuck.
What was even more romantic was...
There's a sex swing.
No, not that. Was Quark's rite of proclamation, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
We have to stop the fight so I can tell you you're gorgeous.
And then like how it ends just because they fix the machine.
Yeah.
And Quark's like,
guess we'll fight again.
He did a pretty good job in those few moments, like the few moments where he wasn't sure what Worf was doing, of looking like he was getting pulled.
Oh, and I guess I'll give this to you.
Yeah. I guess Shimmerman hired a mime to help him out with that scene.
But he couldn't just ask Renee?
I was just going to say, he works with a mime. What the fuck?
I don't know. Renee was busy, maybe.
Dude, holy shit. That scene between Odo and Kira.
Yeah.
I thought it was so funny. Like, he must have taken a master class in sass since he became solid, because he was serving it up. Oh, Miles.
I think that's what, like, becoming a humanoid, he's now picking up on stuff that maybe he wouldn't have before.
Yeah, dog, he's a sarcastic prick.
I kind of love it.
He's got sass and he loves carbonation bubbles. Perfect man.
Dude.
But I really enjoyed that. Also, it's he was talking about, the problem's not with whatever, it's with our chief of operations. And I said, it's operations. Like O'Brien.
Hey.
Listen, that killed last night,
It
so
did.
I'm just saying. But then again, my audience was Chris. And
I'm
he
sorry,
liked
Chris.
Times Arrow.
I
so-
specifically asked her to say it on air because it gave me a
Well,
giggle.
Yeah, he's like, please
Maybe
remember
our
that.
listeners like it.
Nope.
Cut that joke.
Nope, leave it in.
Sorry, Caitlin.
Oh, no. That's okay. I don't care. It's just hard to recapture something that was funny in the moment.
True.
Yeah, I mean,
true.
part of it, of course, is the spontaneity and the timing.
Truth. So, good joke all around.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice house.
What, anything else?
I thought that Quark should have just hired Garrick to go assassinate Thopak.
Accidentally forgets which assignment he's on, kills Quark, sees what he's done, then also kills Thopak. He's like, fine, my work here is done.
Just goes on a spree after that.
A simple tailor. Yeah, because we didn't... It's actually too... well, I was going to say it's too bad. I actually tend to think that directors directing themselves is a little silly, but I'm still a little bummed we didn't get any Garrick.
I'm always bummed we don't have Garrick.
And we only got the tiniest slice of a Cisco, too.
Oh, yeah,
remember?
he showed up just to
He
chuck a
popped
ball at
in,
Dax.
Here's
Yep.
the ball. Oh, Worf's in love? Huh. Well, wonders never cease. Exit stage left.
Yeah.
Like, that was basically it. But,
Like, he came out to do something, was so surprised by the news, he forgot what he'd come out to do and just walked away.
Have to go
maybe he
stir
just
the
came out to
jambalaya.
throw the ball at Dex. We
Hmm.
don't know. What did you say, Ames? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, he has to go stir the jambalaya.
Add some extra spice. Spice is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we also, my last thing I wanted to bring up is we had some excellent physical acting from Morn.
Yeah.
When
He got shoved. I will apologize for this later, as Worf just like knocks him off the stool.
Yeah, just throws him off the stool, and I think we see Morn's legs like stick up in the air. I'm like, damn, you can do a lot whilst under all that makeup.
I was gonna say, when he fell, it occurred to me, I was like, it is more obvious to me than ever that he just has like a big lump of padding on his body. And I think it was something about how he fell. I was just like, oh, well,
Yeah, there is a mat there, but it was still fun.
it was fun.
His body is supported by a series of fluid-filled bladders.
Hot.
I think for all we
Kif.
know, Morn doesn't have a skeleton.
God, he must. He can sit up straight. Don't you need a skeleton for that?
No, you just need a series of fluid-filled bladders like Kif.
Like a
I prefer
spider.
to believe he has a skeleton.
Probably. But yeah, overall, good episode.
Yeah.
This is the last time we see Grilka, though, right?
Yeah.
That's
Probably.
too bad, you know? That means it didn't work out.
Aw.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Maybe they're pen pals. Long distance, you know?
Yeah, they just have phone sex every so often.
Hell yeah.
Now throw yourself against the wall. Okay.
I mean, I think we can assume that for the rest of the series, anytime Quark isn't on screen, he's off somewhere having sex with Grilka.
Nice.
He's taking
I'm
a trip
down.
to Kronos.
No, she lives on the station.
There we go.
She moved to the station.
We can
and
do
they're
whatever
just
we
banging
want, really.
all the time.
I'm in.
Headcanon's a fun place to live.
I accept this headcanon.
So, are we shuffling off to war then?
Yes, yeah.
Oh no, not war.
Star Trek. Star Trek MASH.
Yes. I started whistling the theme in the middle of the episode.
I felt really bad, actually, because Chris was like, oh, this is like MASH. And I was like, yeah, obviously. And then I was like, oh, sorry. I figured that out as soon as they said
But
they were
this is like movie MASH and not series MASH.
As soon as he said, like, surgery under fire, I was like, oh, it's fucking MASH. So sorry again. I'm apologizing to you in front of our tens of listeners.
Why are you apologizing?
Because I was like... Because I was kind of like, yeah, duh, it's obviously MASH. And Chris was like, oh, I just thought of it. And I was like, oh, sorry. Yeah. I realized it a long time ago. That's all. I just felt like a dickhead.
This is movie MASH.
I haven't actually
without
seen
Renee Auberjonois.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
Oh my god, can we do MASH? That's a 10 forward.
Why?
Because Renee Auberjonois was in it. Is he painless?
We can't
no, he's
just 10
Father
forward
oh, that's
movies
right.
because an actor is in them.
Oh, yeah, we can. And now there's even a MASH tie-in episode. Come on.
Okay, I'll take that episode off.
Oh.
No, I like MASH. I disagree that we should be covering it.
We don't have to. I'm just kidding. It's fine. All right. So, second episode this week was Nor the Battle to the Strong. In this episode, Julian is doing what Julian does best, which is being an arrogant sod. And Jake is pretending to enjoy listening to him, which he's not as good at, but he did serve great face. Jake is writing a profile about Bashir, and he went with him to like a conference. And on their way back to Deep Space Nine, they get a distress call from Agilon Prime. Is that how you say that?
Probably.
Agilon Prime?
Sounds right.
And there's like a settlement that's under fire by the Klingons, and they have a little MASH unit in like a cavern of some sort. You know, they get there, and they're like, oh, Bashir, you're a doctor, great, time to do triage. And Jake winds up kind of being pulled in to help as well. You know, he's lugging bodies, he's checking life signs, he's doing MASH type shit. People die, it's really horrific. You can see that Jake is struggling right from the start, and it kind of only gets worse. I was like, this kid is going to need so much fucking therapy after this. They finally finish with the triage after several, like, bloody scenes and lots of Jake freaking out a little bit voiceover land type stuff. I'm trying to think. I'm not really, like, super... I don't super remember, like, the order of things, but I know at some point... I think this is next. They're having generator problems, so Bashir is like, well, let's go and get the generator from the runabout. So they go out to do that, but just then shelling starts. Bashir and Jake are separated, primarily because Bashir is knocked out and Jake runs the fuck in the other direction, which I don't blame him.
Oh, yeah.
He stumbles upon a dying soldier who basically calls him a pussy before he dies. And then Jake, like, feels even worse because he's like, wow, this soldier died, and also he made me feel even worse about running away from my friend. He finally gets back to the base there, or the mobile hospital, or whatever. It's not mobile, but it's a sash. It's a static whatever thing. Anyway, so he arrives. They're like, oh, thank God. We're really glad. Bashir's in ICU. He feels even worse. Then, like, over dinner that night, the other, like, nurses and doctors are, like, joking about, oh, would you rather be, like, disintegrated with Klingon, what the fuck are they called? Disruptors. Do you want to be disrupted or do you want to be like bat left? And they're like, well, disruptors, of course, because it's less painful, and Buddha. And Jake has a little freak out and tells them all they're dickheads and no one's ever going to even remember this happened. Bashir's like, hey, chill, buddy. So eventually, you know, they've been waiting for the Klingons to sort of invade the space. They finally do. Everybody runs and, like, is trying to get everybody out. Jake kind of gets caught in some fire, and from hiding behind a desk, does some random shooting, which leads to a cave-in, which stops the Klingons from getting in, lets everybody escape safely, and gets him buried under some fucking rubble. But thankfully, everything's fine. He wakes up, Cisco has arrived with the Defiant, and everybody's out safe, and Jake's a hero. And he writes an article about the whole situation and admits, like, feeling cowardly and all of his feelings and all this stuff in his beautiful profile. And his dad is like, that's great. I love you. I'm so proud of you. Yay. The end.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Shirok did a great fucking job all episode long.
Yeah. He was great. Chris was like, yeah, they found out he could act in the Visitor. So they were just like, let's give him some more hard work. And yeah, no, he was great.
Yeah, good on them. Good on them for, like, having a Jake episode, which... You don't think is going to happen a lot.
we don't get, not only do we not get a lot of Jake episodes, we just don't get a lot of episodes with Jake, period.
Not
Yeah. Or
anymore.
someone
He's
who's in the
definitely
main
around less
cast.
now. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
He
he probably
is.
shows up less than Garrick in the last, little while.
I would
He
say.
is so tall now.
Dude, his legs are like 2/3 of his body, which was especially apparent in his little nurse getup they had him in. I was like, this kid has fucking legs almost all the way up to his chin. It's wild. He's just super leggy. It's
Legs
crazy.
for days.
Yeah. But not like in a creepy way, just in a holy shit, you're like 8 feet tall and 6 of those feet are legs. Which is unusual. Like, I was saying this last night, and it's not interesting, but I've already committed. Women tend to have longer legs and shorter torsos, and guys tend to have longer torsos and shorter legs. Like, just like proportionally. So it was like, wow, he is just very leggy.
Of course, we had, before shit got dark, we had the opening Quarktajino scene,
That was
Oh,
very
yeah.
cute.
which, again, like, with Odo's development, he was so pleased with Quarktajino, like, the huge grin he had.
And he
after
was kind of
came up
doing
with
like
that.
a right
Yeah.
guys to other people, and they were into it. He was very proud.
But just as Julian could not cure Bajoranatal sneezing overnight, Quark cannot decaffeinate Raktajino overnight.
No. Which is weird. Like, so they say Raktajino is Klingon coffee, right?
Yeah.
But I'm assuming it's not coffee. As
No.
in, it's not
Ground
the same
beans.
the stuff that we think of as coffee. It's
Well, it
got to
might
be
be
some.
ground beans, just not
It's probably
the
just
ones
like
we know.
the closest thing Klingons have to coffee. It is
It's still blood.
It's a warm caffeinated beverage
Yeah.
that Klingons drink.
Like some trader, DER, sent, couple centuries back, they were like, so what is this stuff? He's like, it's Klingon, like, coffee, for lack of it, and that just stuck.
Yeah, it doesn't translate to human.
Because
Yeah.
decaffeinating coffee is something we've mastered already. Like, we've known how to do that for probably, I don't know when decaffeinated coffee was invented, but probably half a century now, at least.
But it does taste different, right?
No, not particularly.
I don't find it taste different.
Actually, no, it mustn't have, because I apologize if I've said this before, but I remember I worked in a shitty little coffee and bagel shop in college, and I remember one of the first things I was told was like, look, if we ever run out of regular, just use decaf. No one will notice.
Well,
They
I
were
heard
very careful.
somewhere. I heard somewhere that most coffees that like a McDonald's or whatever will make all of their coffee in the evenings decaf because it's not worth making a cup of regular because people don't order regular in the evenings as much.
Yeah, that
So
makes
even
sense.
if you order a regular coffee in the evening, you're probably getting decaf.
Yeah. They were, just in case anyone's worried, they then immediately was like, but never ever use regular instead of decaf. But yeah, so I wonder how often just where people have gone, where you've just been like, you think you're getting regular, and you're right, you're getting decaf.
I honestly don't think I'd know the difference, because I don't find that caffeine does a ton for me anyway, so I feel like if I had coffee and it was decaf, I would never know.
Yeah. But, maybe
yeah.
there must be something about the nature of, like,
The
Klingon
Raktajino
beans.
that just makes it
Harder.
difficult to do it.
yeah.
Maybe Raktajino is just pure caffeine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would
like-
make sense, actually, for Klingons.
Take
Yeah.
it
I
to
also
remove
don't know, like, why, if you, like, because they're always getting Raktajino out of the replicator, so it is a replicated thing. Caffeine is a known molecule, so they couldn't just say to the computer, make me a Raktajino with no caffeine.
Maybe
in
that's
it.
what Quark did, and it didn't work.
just tastes like mud water. I love that we sort of had a little tie-in from the last episode too, I feel like, where Miles was still kind of doing a little, like, Kira babysitting.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, it can't be that bad, and he's like, oh, this is fucking horrible.
Oh yeah, I wrote down, ooh, pregnancy snark. What did Kira say? I wrote down that she was being snarky, but I didn't write down what she said.
Oh. About the Raktajino?
About Miles, maybe. I don't remember now.
All I
But
remember
I loved how she was doing it.
all I really remember from that scene is when Quark said, like, they consider they consider the baby to be like a lessee.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
renting the body space. So Chris and I got into a debate about this, and we were like, so like who's leasing it? And I was like, I believe he means that the baby is leasing the space, and at some point we'll have to pay several strips
Yeah.
of latinum to repay that debt to their parent.
You're just born with debt.
Yeah, I think I remember what Kira said. Kira said to Miles's response about that of saying like, "Oh, well, my baby, rah 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 rah."
Oh, yeah.
And I think she said something to the effect of, "Oh, is the baby in your uterus?"
Well, yeah, Keiko had Molly.
Yes,
That's right, that's what it
right.
was. I've already had a baby.
Yeah, because
you haven't had any babies.
Because Dax said, "Why does pregnancy always make men neurotic?"
That's right. You're right. Yeah, little clap back. So, does that mean that she's taking classes from Odo or vice versa?
I think Odo, she's always had sort of a
little sass.
yeah, so
True.
she's probably taking classes. He's probably taking classes from her.
Yeah. I liked in this episode that we still see a little bit of Odo adapting to being solid. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, her
Yeah,
himself.
he like fell off, jumped off the stairs or something. Poor
I'm gonna
guy.
turn you in, bro. Fuck.
I just pulled my everything.
I thought it was the only thing that sucked was like Cisco of course is having this conversation with him, and at the time he's like super worried about Jake because he knows the situation he's in, which is he's in a hospital that's like actively under siege, or at least in a battlefield type situation, and he's got Odo being like, "Wow, you solids are fragile as fuck,"
Yeah.
and Cisco's like, "Yup." On the other hand, though, I did like Dax's story.
Yeah, I loved it. Like
About the
is-
child.
This is when I really started noticing, like, damn, Terry Farrell has improved like wow.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
much. She was like legit crying during this delivery, right? Because she was talking about, she had a child who was like in a coma. And was that right?
Her daughter Nima, who was Audred's daughter, Audred being the facet that was portrayed by Quark.
Mm.
She had a daughter who had Rugelon fever.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yes, as it says in the verbs or the noun section here of the chat. But yeah, she's telling him, like, I would just, sit by her bedside and read to her. I wasn't even sure if she could hear me, but it was something to do.
Yep.
And, and Cisco's like, and how was she? She's like, oh yeah, she recovered. And Cisco was like, said something like, if there had been an unhappy ending to the story, I would have been very mad at you, old man. Or like, it was something like that.
I would have spaced you immediately. keep
the
symbiote, though.
To the finny tube with her.
Whoops. Jettisoned.
Yeah, that was a very sweet scene.
It was really nice. And again, Terry just brought really like real emotion, like real tears type of situation, and just thought it was really lovely. I really like them together, and I'm glad that we're seeing, because I feel like in the beginning when Terry Farrell was terrible, we saw them together all the time, and now I feel like she often gets kind of paired, like we still see them together a little bit, but I feel like Dax kind of gets paired up a shitload now, obviously, with Worf, though not in this episode. I don't feel like we saw them together at all, but she's usually like, sort of dating Worf, kind of like best friends with Julian, and like girl chat with Kira. So I feel like we haven't seen quite as much Cisco Dax stuff, and I don't know, kind of miss it, especially now that Terry is showing her true strengths.
For spots.
On the downside,
do they go all the way down?
No.
On the downside, I feel like we didn't have quite the quality of extras we always needed in this one.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the orderly Kirby.
Oh, the really young one?
Yeah, the young kid.
Like,
when he was talking,
I wanted to call him Sparky or something.
Yeah, there was a moment where he was talking about things getting killed and like banged up bad, and he just seemed excited about it, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Well, yeah,
sociopath.
Yeah, he was like a little, like, I get they'd been told, like, all right, so the idea here is, like, you've all been dealing with this stuff for ages, you're kind of not immune to it, but you've got, like, it's MASH, they protect themselves from it via gallows humor and stuff like that. But yeah, he maybe was a little too glib.
I think it was the acting. I think it was mostly that his acting was just off.
But then there was also even, like, Johnny shoots himself was a little stiff.
A little bit.
Like I would have liked a better actor in that role. And then Burke was just crazy.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Oh.
I thought that was the guy that was dying.
Yeah.
That Jake encountered.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was that was a weird.
Very weird.
The actor reminded me of a different actor.
Ooh.
I feel like there was some like Total Recall boiling on the planet surface, something going on there.
I mean, he's
Yeah,
in the
that's just
middle
his
of
He has
dying.
fucking crazy eyes.
Yeah, he's in the
Yeah.
middle of dying. What do you expect out of a character like that?
He gave me like Gary Busey vibes.
Oh God.
Maybe that's who it is.
See, I looked him up because I thought I recognized him, and I don't think I did. Like, he actually has been in stuff I've seen, but I doubt this is what ticked. I think, like you, Jake, he reminded me of, like, 10 different people.
Yeah.
He was, however, for things I would have seen, he was the
How many Batmans?
No, he was the art museum security guard in the Mr. Bean movie that Mr. Bean, let's be honest, kills with laxative. Like, they don't show him die in the movie, but the dose Bean gives him probably killed him off screen.
I'm so sorry.
God, that's what has been this whole time. Mr. Bean isn't just a funny mute. He's a fucking murderer, and he's using his weirdo charms to get to people and kill them.
Mr. Bean's a changeling. He was an very early agent.
That's why his face looks like that.
Yeah, he sows chaos starting as early as the late 20th century.
But you know who he was reminding me of? That
Burke?
actor. Sorry, the dying man.
Yeah, Burke.
Yeah.
The actor, I don't know the actor's name. He's been in a lot of shit. He played Shooter McGavin in
Oh,
Oh,
and
that guy.
in
He
Happy
was in
Gilmore.
The guy who was Castillo.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
the Enterprise C.
Yes.
I can kind of see that.
I always forget that that's the same guy because I always associate that actor with Shooter McGavin,
Yeah,
which is
because
totally different than Castillo.
yeah, because he's such a different character.
Funny. I did love so Chief Burke's like dying line
Yeah.
is so bleak. It's like
Yeah.
something to the effect of, I didn't hear the first word, I think it was something like, life doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And then he dies, and Jake realizes, okay, so yeah, it doesn't work like, everyone gets their comeuppance and everyone gets their chance to like make up for mistakes they've made. Sometimes people just die.
It's kind of like, it's having him go, this ain't a TV show, kid, without him actually using those words.
Which is good, because fuck.
Because, if they put it that way, it'd make me want to just...
This isn't MASH. Oh, wait. In MASH, this would happen all the time.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing that I thought was very MASH-like was our soldier who shot himself in the leg to get out of active duty. Because there's at least one episode I can think of specifically in MASH where that happens, and it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
But it looked to me like at the end, he was one of the ones who like sacrificed himself trying to give them time to get out. I was pretty sure it was him. I didn't get a great look, but there was like a woman who was shot, and then there was him. And if I'm correct, and it was him, I'm sort of glad he had a chance to sort of...
redemption.
Yeah.
Life doesn't work like that!
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of funny because he actually does get to have a redemption thing, and Jake accidentally gets to have one by
Jake just
accidentally
stumbles
shooting
into
the
it.
ceiling out.
Yeah. If that was him, I didn't notice, and I didn't read about it anywhere. What I did read was that because they were just so good at filming this episode that they filmed it in such a tight way that they had several minutes be short in film.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
So because they realized, oh shit, we're running short. We need another scene somewhere, and they added in the middle of filming. They added the scene, the second scene we see with the soldier, where Jake and him both kind of confront the cowardly nature of what they just did.
We're both a couple of pussies, huh?
Which is a very integral scene to the episode, so it worked out
Yeah,
great.
that's funny.
Yeah. Something that not to be the guy that does the new Trek bad.
That
but
doesn't sound anything like you, Jake.
I know. But I couldn't help but notice so this is a war episode.
What is it good for?
But
If you ask me, absolutely nothing. Fucking
That was
forgot to mention
I
Quark.
loved that.
I didn't need it.
No, I know you
okay.
didn't, but I just thought it was funny.
Okay, sorry, go on, Jake.
I could only assume that Quark was deliberately quoting a song that he had heard.
Maybe.
Classical music.
and like
Looking
was
for
like
love
trying
in all
to
the wrong
be.
places.
He was pulling an Elaine, where she told that Russian author that was the original title to War and Peace.
What?
There's a Seinfeld episode where Jerry tells Elaine that as like a joke, and then she's meeting up with some Russian author, and she's like, trivia. War and Peace was originally titled War, What Is It Good For? And he got really pissed. It's funny.
I should watch Seinfeld. I never watched Seinfeld because it was a show that I think my parents weren't fans of, so we just never watched it when I was a kid.
I watched it.
It's coming to Netflix next year, supposedly.
Oh, neat.
Oh, it's already on one of them, though. I watched it all
I think
streaming.
it might be on Hulu.
Oh, maybe that's right. Well, I watched into season 9, but I gave up because season 9 is kind of a shit show, and I already know the ending sucks, so I just gave up. But the first 8 seasons are solid.
Yeah, there's a couple good things in season 9, but I don't know. It kind of goes downhill, I think, after Larry David left. Just, it got a little flanderized.
Oh, that's a shame.
But, I mean, it's still good. There's still a lot of gems after he left. But anyway, what I was saying, the New Trek comparison.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Just that, this is a war episode, but there's hardly any battle scenes, there's not a lot of action.
There's some shelling.
Yeah, there's the shelling, and then there's the final assault at the end where there's like 2 Klingons walk in and, get 2 Klingons that were trained at the Imperial Stormtrooper Shooting Academy.
Nice.
But, I just feel like this episode, they wouldn't make an episode like this on Discovery or Picard or anything. But I also just think it would have been mostly an action episode.
Probably.
Because when they have had like these things where like, oh yeah, the war and people getting killed, it's always in the context of a giant action set piece. Whereas I feel like this episode works really well because it's not a giant action set piece. The action is off screen, and
it's a
we're kind of
character
getting
show.
It's a character show. We're getting the aftermath of the of this war, and we're actually seeing, war isn't like exciting and adventure, and it's not explosions and heroism. It's being frightened and hiding and trying not to get killed, then watching other people get killed.
And having it from the point of view of a civilian helps, you know.
I actually I also really like that there isn't really a B plot to get distracted by.
No.
The only the quasi B plot we get is Cisco going to Jake.
Yeah.
To go get him, which is perfect. It fits like a fucking glove, and it doesn't like detract from all the great stuff that we're seeing from Jake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no Miles and Kira might have feelings for each other plot. That would be
too bad. They definitely could have just bolted that one onto this one. That would have been a perfect offsetting. War got you down. How about some romantic hijinks?
Quark imports a new kind of nut, and shenanigans happen.
But yeah, I thought it was super good this episode.
Yeah, very, very good. And
I'm a gigantic MASH fan. I feel like this came up years ago when I was watching it. So yeah, I liked that. It felt like it was a pretty obvious inspiration for the episode, and I thought, like you said, Jake, it shows you like the true horror of war and the true like nature of it, that it's not like fucking fun times. It's death everywhere.
There was a bunch of great inspirational pieces for this episode. Like it's very Hemingway-esque, like The Sun Also Rises, which is great. It's very All Quiet on the Western Front, and they added some homages to the Red Badge of Courage. And I also read that originally it was going to be set in a Cardassian hospital, but they kind of realized, if they were all Cardassians,
so much makeup,
too much makeup,
money.
We would love to save money because Trials and Tribulations is coming up, and that's an expensive fucking episode. We need to be saving fucking money right now. But also,
because they must have had to rebuild like the whole everything, right?
Yeah, that, and also all the tech stuff that they had to put into it. Like it's going to be interesting when we talk about it.
Yeah, they busted out the Forrest Gump tech for that.
But show. Also, if they had been in a Cardassian hospital, like one of the things that would be one of the tensions in the episode wouldn't just be, war is terrifying. It would be, I don't understand how these Cardassians specifically work.
Yeah.
Like they have a different way of viewing like medicine or something.
Yeah, I think having it be humans, Starfleet, I guess, not specifically humans,
Yeah,
but
there's a
Starfleet
Bolian.
was important. And also, in the fact that most of the dead and dying we see are humans, or at least most of the ones that Jake interacts with are humans, I think, kind of brings that into focus
You also
for him
don't end up.
specifically.
Yeah, you don't think of them also as the other. You think of them as also you. Like I could also be.
My
this
team
guy.
is losing. Shit.
So, we've talked about this a little bit. We seem to have seen now Federation ground forces.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
like they seem to have their own uniform. They didn't have the Delta, so they're not Starfleet. They have hoppers instead of shuttlecraft.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing because I was under the impression that that's kind of what O'Brien did during the Cardassian War.
Can someone tell me what a hopper is?
I honestly was just like
transport. I think.
Yeah, but probably one that can't break atmosphere, or if it breaks atmosphere, it can't break orbit.
Yeah, it's probably not a warp capable thing. It's probably it's like a box that you can put like those D-Day landing boats, those amphibious.
Yeah, I was just saying duck boat. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of thinking, especially because of all the MASH comparisons, it's basically a chopper.
Yeah.
It even sounds like chopper.
Yes.
Yeah.
First time they said it, I actually kind of wondered if they had said hopper, actually.
Yeah. But I imagined it was like it's either doesn't break atmosphere or at the very least doesn't break orbit.
Shorter range thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I really like this one. I'm kind of glad that even though he was there, it was not heavy on the Bashir. It wasn't showing him dealing with this. Like we saw him deal with this. Yeah. Like
We're
already
watching
had
him cure war.
Yeah.
Just give him a couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of saw already Bashir, deal with this kind of shit in the Quickening.
Bashiring hard.
Yeah. Or, dealing with the unwinnable situation. So we didn't need to see that again.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, very quick moment I liked with Bashir is when they were first starting to get shelled. His first priority was protecting Jake. Like, as they're getting shelled, he doesn't just hide and run. He specifically jumps on Jake. I was like, that sounds about right.
And how does Jake repay him?
See ya!
the scene that I liked with Bashir was when they're about to have dinner, and he's like, oh, I think I'll make an incision here right at the joint, and Jake is like, bleh! And I was like, oh, there it is, because I kind of wondered how that would go, but I think Bashir definitely pushed him over the edge.
Was it Bashir that said, I wrote down a line, I think it was Bashir, there are many things that test a person's character, most of them aren't life and death, or whatever he said.
Yeah, I think that was Bashir
also.
That
was a good line.
It was. We've had some good lines this week.
Yeah, good week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last bit of note that I took down was that originally the Burke character, the guy dying in the hole, was originally going to be a Klingon, a blind Klingon. So when Jake falls in the hole with him, the Klingon doesn't realize he's a human for a while.
Interesting.
And then they both kind of realize that they need each other to survive.
A la that episode with
it sounds like The Enemy.
O'Brien.
Was it with the Cardassians?
Romulans.
Oh, right, Romulans, damn it.
Yeah, there was Geordi and a Romulan.
Geordi and the Romulan.
Oh, dear. Fuck. Got all my people mixed up. Anyway.
But no, it has happened before. And I think they also said, like, it should be someone on Jake's side so that at the very end, after he's been in a hole with a Klingon for a while and the Klingons attack again, so we continue to feel like they're still the enemy right now.
Well, that, and also if a Klingon's gonna call you a coward, you're just like, whatever, you think everyone's a coward. But when an insane dying ginger who wants to make sure he's dying staring at the sky and not the dirt says it, you go, oh, that kind of hurts.
Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna make this kid feel bad as my last act.
What a dick.
Damn.
Listen, making a child cry was the last item on his bucket list. He knew his time was limited.
Yeah, don't die looking at the ground. Make this kid feel like shit.
You gotta have priorities, He's like, I never did get to France. Well, I can tick another one off right now anyway. All right. Anything else, anybody?
Got nothing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next week we're gonna talk about 2 more Deep Space Nine episodes, The Assignment, and as we
Earth.
alluded, Trials and Tribulations,
Ooh.
which I'm really excited for. Trials and Tribulations, I think, was like the first Deep Space Nine episode I ever saw.
Do you remember it?
I think Trouble with Tribbles was the first TOS episode I ever saw. So that's interesting. It's basically tradition now. But yeah, so we'll look forward to talking about that next week. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more of A Star to Steer Her By, you can find us where all fine podcasts are sold. We are on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play / YouTube Music, I don't know, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on the web, on Facebook, by searching A Star to Steer Her By. You can find us at SSHB Podcast on Twitter and Tumblr, and you can visit sshbpodcast.com to check out our website, which, depending on when you're tuning in, it could be a real website, it could just be a link to the Tumblr. Yeah, that's it. Do those things. I have been Caitlin.
I have been Jake.
This has been Chris.
And I have always been Ames. Actually, that's not true. That's not true at all.
No rules of acquisition this week, so
Yeah.
Enjoy your Quarktajino.
come to Quark's.
Quarks is fun. Come right now. Don't walk, run.
Run! Yeah!
Whee!